Good morning, crime community. I'm here to read another section of Poisoner in Chief. It's The Divine Mushroom. We'll just call it part 3. Let's begin. As Gottlieb consolidated control over his hidden realm, he solidified his position as one of the most powerful unknown Americans. Within the CIA, however, he remained an outsider. One reason was his hits background. Most officers who led early CIA were comfortable with the alcoholism and old boy camaraderie that defined their inbred world. Gottlieb could not penetrate that world and had no wish to do so. When he spoke to officers outside the MK Ultra, it was often to preach the benefits of goat milk. Instead of joining them after hours, he retreated to his wife, children, and a cabin in the Virginia woods. Throughout the 1950s, and for some time beyond, the agency was less than a welcoming place for Jews and radical minorities, or racial minorities. He recalled years later, those who were actually ever hired or involved in operations learned rather quickly to keep their heads down when certain matters were discussed. The other reason Gottlieb stood apart from the legendary CIA officers of that era, world shakers like Dulles, Helms, Wisner, and Angleton, James Jesus, was the nature of his work. They did the controversial job of covert action, spying on enemies and trying to weaken or destroy them. Gottlieb worked on a higher plane. If he could discover a way to control the human mind, as all other CIA operations, including prize successes like toppling governments in Iran and Guatemala, would fade into significance. In 1957, Gottlieb had spent 4 intense years directing MK Ultra from the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary to the safe houses of New York and San Francisco to the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, and his sub-projects were in full swing. His moment as a pioneer, though, had passed. He was approaching his 40th birthday. A report on his MK Ultra work by the CIA Inspector General found that some of his activities are considered professionally unethical and in some cases border on the illegal. Restless as ever, he made an unexpected career choice. During his careers of travel, Gottlieb had met many CIA officers posted at foreign stations. In early '57, he decided to become one of them. He left his post as chief of the Chemical Division of Technical Services, which he had run since it was created, and began several months of training as a field officer. After completing his work, he moved to Munich, accompanied by his wife and 4 children. He spoke German, knew the country from visits connected to MK Ultra interrogations and his friends in the CIA network there. Gottlieb had wanted to apply his black arts to field work, so he had requested an overseas post as a case officer. According to one history of the CIA, after being turned down by dozens of brief cases who wanted no part of him, Munich-based Chief William Hood permitted him to come for a tour. He was out in Munich, God bless him, to learn the trade. He came as a case officer, a GS-16 case officer. CIA officer John Sherwood said, Sherwood and Gottlieb became friends, and their families spent a great deal of time together in Munich. Looking back on it, Sherwood said he should have realized that Gottlieb was using innocent human beings as CIA experiments, but he thought the guy was a real family man. Hell, used to go mountain climbing together. The CIA station in Munich was a Cold War command post. From there, officers sent hundreds of partisan fighters on doomed commando missions behind the Iron Curtain and ran a host of other operations against the Soviet Union. Was also the bearer for Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. CIA connected broadcast services that beamed news of anti-Soviet propaganda into communist countries. Germany's Foreign Intelligence Service, headed by the former Nazi officer Reinhard Gehlen, had his headquarters in the outlying district of Pulak. This concentration of covert resources attracted the anti-Soviet exiles. Communist agents stalked them. In the evening of October 12, '57, just a few weeks after Gottlieb arrived in Munich, a Ukrainian exile leader, Lev Rebet, collapsed and died on a dark street. Doctors concluded that he had suffered a heart attack. Later, the Soviet Union confessed to killing him with a specially designed spray gun that fired poison gas from a crushed cyanide ampoule. He was precisely the sort of weapon Gottlieb might have designed. When it came to spying, Munich, like Hamburg, was one of the ensuing capitals of Europe, and novelist John Le Carre wrote in The Secret Pilgrim, even Berlin ran a poor second when it came to size and valuability of music's invisible community. Now and then, frightful scandals broke, usually when one or another of this company of clowns literally forgot which side he was working for, or made a tearful confession in his cups, or shot his mistress or his boyfriend, or perhaps himself, or popped up drunk on the other side of the curtain to declare his loyalty to whomever he had not been loyal to so far. I never in my life knew such an intelligence bordello. The CIA had not declassified files that would provide details of Gottlieb's work in Munich. However, a century later, the German magazine Der Spiegel discovered and published a document showing in 1958, while Gottlieb was stationed in Munich, German counterintelligence agents informed Chancellor Konrad Adenauer that CIA officers were arriving people in Germany without the knowledge of German authorities, imprisoning them at times for months, and subjecting them to forms of interrogation forbidden by German law. Adenauer, who closely cooperated with Secretary of State John Foster Dulles, chose to let the matter pass. For 2 years, we worked undercover, running foreign agents, according to one survey of Gottlieb's career. One CIA officer recalls his help in the case of a chemist who escaped from East Germany. For months, the CIA had to brief the chemist of a safe house. He claimed that he was provided technical support in communist intelligence services, but the CIA headquarters was not convinced that he or who he was or who he was. So Gottlieb was asked to interrogate him. Within a single session, Gottlieb established that the chemist was telling the truth, and in doing so exposed a system of secret writings that was in use by the other side. During 1958, Gottlieb made 2 foreign trips from his base to Munich. One was for pleasure. He took his wife to Paris. The other flew back to Washington for an interval in CIA headquarters. While he was there, he was asked, as experienced officers often were, to address the incompetent class of recruits. It wasn't a very dramatic speaker. One of them recalled years later, he did not impress me at all. When we lectured to our group in 1958, he was considered by all of us as a strange person. Anyone who was beyond the pale during all sorts of strange things, I thought. I hope I don't have to do with this guy. He was kind of dismissed as an oddball. This flip of the name and laughed at it. It was kind of that crazy guy. He was definitely not a mainstream operations officer. I made the decision of my own never to have anything to do with this guy. He was so far out of the things he was doing that by and large, he was considered beyond the pale. You've told that your country wants you to do this super secret thing. It's not your role to say whether it's a good or not. The job is to develop it. Gottlieb worked his way on the ranks, doing what he was told to do by questioning orders, but trying to figure out how to do what was asked. He knew there was something going on with the LXD experiments. I can't remember even seeing a document, but it was something that was just kind of filtered down. He was not an operator. He was a scientist, like the people who developed the atomic bomb. They were told that the bomb was going to be dropped on a civilian population in Japan. At least one would have objected, but many of them thought that they were creating a capacity that might or not have been used. The soldiers did their technical work. He was so low-key, this little gray man. An hour after his appearance before you, you have trouble recognizing him in the crowd. He was the sort of esoteric scientist so far removed from the practicalities of real life that you had trouble taking him seriously. You couldn't dismiss him entirely. Gottlieb worked at the Munich station for 2 years. In 1959, he returned to a new job at CIA headquarters, created for him scientific advisor to Richard Bissell, the deputy director for plans. Bissell was looking for ways to use, excuse me, Bissell was looking for his ways to use chemical and biological agents more effectively in covert actions. Gottlieb's combination of technical expertise and field experience prepared him for the next phase of his career. As he was settling back in life in the United States, Gottlieb's secret world was jolted by the appearance of the best-selling novel called The Manchurian Candidate. And everybody knows from the vinyl community to the movie scene what the Manchurian Candidate is, with old blue eyes. It tells a story of a group of American soldiers in Korea who are captured by communists, brought to a secret base in Manchuria, brainwashed, and sent back to the United States to commit political murder. In this case, fiction lagged behind reality. Gottlieb had found no evidence that post-hypnotic suggestion, induced amnesia, or any other form of brainwashing actually exists. Americans, however, have been told that ex-prisoners who praise communism or confess to dropping bioweapons over North Korea and China had been brainwashed. This made the Manchurian Candidate sound terrifyingly real. It grabbed Americans' Cold War imagination. Gottlieb and his mind control warriors had begun shaping the fictional world that once shaped them. We will quit here and continue on with the magic mushroom tomorrow. If you think there's any truth here at all, please like and subscribe and have a good day.